Hi friends, how's it going? I guess this is kind of like a part 2 of my last video because I didn't really land all the thoughts, and that's more or less what this is about. It's a gorgeous sunny day. I'm getting my vitamin D. Need the D. I didn't expect it to be so hot. I'm so happy. Anyways, I guess the first thing I wanted to talk about is how, oh, there's a dog over on the other side of the river. Where's the human? Anyways, I wanted to talk about how I think maybe the hardest thing with this autism diagnosis is starting to see something that's always been in there, and I've always kind of been in denial of. And it's exactly what happened in that last video. And it's having so many thoughts so many thoughts happen to me so quickly on so many different levels that like I can never communicate what I want to communicate. I can't, there's like, listen, I have the Holy Trinity or like grand dark triad, however you want to look at it. It's both. Everything kind of is, but duality, yay, right? Of autism, ADHD, and dyslexia. So my brain is flipping stuff around and making connections and doing all those things. And when properly supported, like that's Einstein shit. Sorry, not sorry. I've never been regulated for long enough to know what I could actually do on that front. But we're getting there. I've been doing some major detoxing, and today, especially with the sunshine and the warmth, feeling a lot better. And I've gotten back into yoga. I did yoga and a run today. I feel great. This body does better when it moves. The brain does not do so good when it has excess energy and not the right place to channel and focus it. So I kind of watched my video back and was like, you know what, just post it anyways. Just like I said at the end, if I've got that spiderwebby brain, let the neurodiversity sit and just keep going with it until I have built the time and space and routine to really get these messages out the way I want. At least I'm here chatting with you all. Yeah, that's a thing that I'll say for later. Something cute about, I was in a cafe doing some tarot readings that I will put here because it was kind of, well, I don't know. I'll see when I watch it back if it does what I want it to do. Maybe I'll link it into this. Who knows? Find out. You'll know when you're watching the video. So I guess what I was trying to get at it and never quite landed thought from last video is that I think there's a lot of people that have like autistic brains that would never land on the autism spectrum, would never get diagnosed with ASD purely because they've had the right environment supports, outlets to really harness in on those things, and probably not meet all the criteria or even need to land that support. And I mentioned it before, so maybe I'll like track through my life a little bit now on this one. I'm just free flowing here. I'm wandering by the river and letting the thoughts come as I go. I didn't know where this video was going to go. I just kind of knew where it was going to start. So yeah, I think in my early life, I was an only child. We lived in mostly rural settings, always by water, had a lake close at hand, skied in the winter. I've been skiing since I was like 2. And all those things accommodate so many things within the autism spectrum, right? Like a sensory seeking. So being in water or zooming down a ski hill, 2.5 really, but yeah, less than 3 I've been skiing, and then I switched to snowboarding at 8. And I really want to get out. I haven't been out in a few years. I almost made it last year or the year before, but didn't quite land that one. And then I had family that like lived in the country on farms and stuff like that. So I always had a few times a year where I'd go stay with my grandparents or my cousins, and a chance to reset from the cities that we moved to when I got a little bit older, small city to larger city. And although I always did activities like swimming,
I will not
dance, I hated dance so much. It took me like 3 years to graduate what level. And then when I did, I'd have to like move up to 3 different types of dance classes and like 5 days a week. And I was like, nah, fuck that, I'm out. I was like 7. And then I also had the same thing with swimming because I was born premature. I was born with like a hip displacement. And so like my hips do really well one way and less well the other way. And so I had like really good movement from a young age to train in butterfly. And so I think at like 5 when I was in swim club, I got asked to, what do we call it? Oh yeah, I got asked if I wanted to I got scouted. I got asked if I wanted to start training for the Olympics. Like not like they were gonna put me, but you know, they wanted to put me on the path and see how I did, basically. And so it's really loud here. I hope the mic helps. Looking at my audio levels actually seems like it does. So sorry, there's just a little, yeah, I just want to keep walking, okay. Shade, that's so nice. All right, and the same thing, I was like, how many times a week would I have to train? 5? Nah, that cuts into my TV time way too much. Can I go jump off the high board now? Right, like that's pretty autistic. That's real fucking autistic, Fox. But yeah, just a second. Sometimes I'm like surprised by how cute I am. The hair's coming along. Wonder what it's going to be like in like 2 years, 3 years. Puppy. So it like really, when I started kind of like getting into school is where life started to get challenging, because I mean, it's like a pretty classic story, right? Like the demands are high, and there's a train coming by. This is about to get real, real loud. I love it though. I love the feeling of a train. It's really slow. Yeah, so like, I never felt like I had friends in school, if that makes sense. I had a lot of friends who went to school with me, and some of them were classroom friends, but like, to try to, what does that sound like? Oh, listen to that. The graffiti's really good down here. Oh, it won't. I have to like do this. Ooh, it's a shroom. Can't show you, it's following my face. I gotta spend more time playing with this. Anyways, it's my graffiti, not yours. Are you falling off yet? Because I stopped talking. We're still here. I am on YouTube because I'm looking for the people who want to stick around and have a bit of a slower conversation. So time and space is okay. That's me talking myself through the content, folks. Oh, that road's open again. Huh. Okay. So, back to what I was saying. And then I would say there was this pattern in my life of like having all these ideas and being really excited and just getting thrown off regulation over and over again. And I managed to hide it, which is what we call masking, by the way. Not just social masking, but kind of this like, yeah, I don't know what more to say, really. I learned to pretend I didn't need help when I really, really did need help, because the times I'd asked for help, no one really understood what I was going through. And the help I was receiving wasn't helpful to me at all. So I learned to hide it, and I learned to get by feeling like an absolute and utter imposter, which imposter syndrome is strong in everyone, but then autistic imposter syndrome, where you're like, nobody sees that my brain doesn't work right now and I seem to be pulling it off so cool. I'm not quite pulling it off perfectly and I seem to be kind of getting in trouble often, but not the worst. could be much worse. So I guess that is so loud. Oh, I'm still louder, so we'll go with that. Welcome to autism, by the way. Didn't realize everybody's brain, like, well, not everybody else, there's lots of us. I keep saying it, but I didn't know other people's brains adequately filtered out background noise. Huh. Fun facts. Yeah, okay, so I guess I would spend a lot of time thinking about how things could be. And there's a lot of hurt and pain because I just never measured up to even my own expectations. And then that was echoed through society and places around me and relationships and all of that. And part of it, I have to come back to, is I was really not effectively communicating at all. So yeah, it's been a hard point, I guess, with the spiritual awakening / breakdown. And why do I keep calling it both of those things? Because there was a real loss of brain for a while. Real stepping outside of myself. But I like to say, I lost the mind that was no longer serving me. And now I really do feel like a whole different person than I was a year ago, or 6 months ago, or a week ago, or even yesterday. Part of that is hugely to do with regulation, and there's a full through line, but the functionality, it's just zoom. Man, it is gorgeous by the river today. So that was one thought I wonder how much I can walk closer to the river. Everything is melting, so it's running quite fast. Mucky. Yeah, so I guess one of the things about autism that I touched on in my last video is that there's this much slower emotional processing than logical processing. And I have been letting myself over the last day, really, a yoga class and a sauna session, to really let myself, you see my hand up like that, I'm just trying to block the mic from the wind a little bit extra. Yoga class and sauna session. And I just started to let myself feel the pain, because I try to logic myself out of feeling a lot. And I feel really intensely, and I feel really deeply. So much so to the point that when people don't understand it, oh, I got a burr. Take that, burr. No longer on my pants. So much so that oh, right. My feelings are super intense. And if you don't understand them the way I do, especially if you're an empathetic person, I think they push people away a lot. Or if people like don't have good emotional regulation skills or knowing their own boundaries, they'll take them on and get really caught up in the current. But for me, and part of this goes back to my acting training and somatic work and all that stuff, like I can feel a really, really big emotion. If I let myself feel it, it does not take long to pass. And because I do that process so much on my own, sometimes I will just take care of myself and then I won't communicate it to other people. And that's a big step that I was missing. And what happens is the logic takes over, and if I haven't communicated it to someone, even if it's past, I have a hard time building a relationship because they don't have a chance to understand how they impact me, and the same stuff just happens over and over again, and then resentment builds. And then add the communication thing, like, because the logics, and like, because I'm highly intuitive and I read energy and I read people and I read emotions really, really well, not social necessarily constructs around them, but like the pure kind of base parts of it, I'm quite in tune with. And here's the thing about emotions. Emotions happen to us, right? And they aren't us, though they are a part of us, and they have some useful information, you know, like all feelings are valid, but it doesn't mean the stories they tell are necessarily true. And so, wow, look at this little spot. I'm gonna let myself sit and ground here for a moment. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the emotions they tell us are true. Beautiful. Emotions are always real and valid, but it doesn't necessarily mean the stories they tell are true. And I'm starting to realize if I don't share these things with people before my mind does all the work to just resolve things without anybody else's help, I ended up in some pretty weird stories that aren't fair to other people, that make it hard to relate to other people. And yet a lifetime of getting a fraction of the thoughts out and never quite in the right order in a way that makes sense. And so often have had the experience of people saying I've made sense to them and me trusting that and then realizing, nope, not at all. And other times I've had the experience of I don't know, maybe assuming mind reading or some of those dysfunctional thoughts and patterns and belief systems. Although I do eventually want to talk to you about ESP because I've had some actual like real instances of mind reading where I've heard other people's thoughts. I'm so glad those don't happen very often. And all this stuff only really happens in a place of regulation. And now I'm going to come back to this like spiritual awakening thing. I think, let's say the last 2 years, and the place I'm finally getting to now is the ability to hold all of it in a grounded way and not attach too much meaning to outcomes, you know? Like when it first started happening, I saw so many possible futures that I was just like stalled out. Like I didn't know what direction to do. I thought it was like all my responsibility to you know, enact all that stuff. And that's where we go like awakening or breakdown. And there's some really, really big physiological reasons for that. You know, identify as being someone who's great with change, even though you have a brain that like both loves novelty and routine and doesn't do great with change. And then you realize that everything you've been doing for the past decade doesn't serve you, and you try to change it all at once, including like habits that immediately affect brain chemistry. And yeah, stuff's gonna get a little bit weird. You might break down a bit, you know? That was my experience, at least. Mostly it was so beautiful. I wouldn't change it for the world, honestly. And I'm so grateful, like, for every mess up and blunder and fucking weird ass mistake. I feel so grateful for the people around me, and I feel so grateful for the lessons, like not just my blunders, everybody else's too, right? Like if things had gone exactly as I had imagined, I would have been stuck in so many bad patterns. And I'm not there anymore. And I love that. I love that so, so much. So I hope I got some. Ugh, no. This is an interesting little campsite here. Ugh. By the river. Hey, how's the view? I'm trying to get my headphones back in my bag. Oh, hi. There we go. Lost my face. You lost my face. Are we better now? Are we happy? Cool. All right. So now I want to talk a little bit more about what I started touching on when I ran into the coyote, or as I said, coyote. Tell I'm from the city when you say coyote. I know I said I got to spend lots of time in nature in rural settings, but I have existed in cities most of my life. I don't know, I think I've had a pretty cool life. So yeah, let's chat a little bit about this addiction and then capitalism and how those two things interlink. And no, I am not trying to threaten your right to autonomy and abundance and resources. So if you are slightly open-minded enough to stick with me, then maybe don't pop off just at the mere mention of capitalism, please. But if that really just is something that you're like, nah, I don't want to be here for it, then that's fine. Find your way back to me or don't, doesn't matter. So let's talk about addiction for a minute. I think that the world right now is demanding so much of us and giving us so little time to do what refuels us that addiction is just skyrocketing. And I think, you know, strangely enough, for somebody who is here about to post on YouTube, I think screens and phones and social media are such a huge part of that addiction because it gives us quick dopamine hits. And that's what fuels, by the way. It's like the fast dopamine that we're using when we're exhausted. That just keeps fueling us. And then, man, if there are people on there that you like, and then you get the combination of like blue light, the little ding, and then like getting to be in contact with someone, and you kind of get that disparate feeling of connection, but not quite connection. I don't think that cat likes being on that scooter. He seems a little distressed there. I have such an interesting relationship with online spaces because they really are like a different level of reality. Much more one that takes place within our brain, right? Like you can connect and there's words across the street, but your brain has to like make up and fill in the gaps, like especially if all you're getting are little like texts and stuff like that. And so to exist more and more online and through screens, our brain is doing a lot more fortune telling, which is in cognitive science, it's a not great behavioral adaptation. It often leads to a lot of problems in relating with others, but that's what you're forced to do. And so, being someone who sometimes communicates better when they can like control their environment and put the words together exactly how they want to actually be able to say what they mean. There's a lot of appeal and draw, and then at the same time, it's this like dissociation and kind of stepping out of reality. And even what I'm doing here, right? This isn't, people might see it, people might not. I hope more and more people start to see it. I hope I start to be able to speak in ways that make more and more sense and are getting closer to the point. I think doing this is a healing sort of thing for me because I love when people have their music playing. I used to not, now I'm like such a big fan. I used to be so judgy about it. Silly me. But, like this type of thing right here, at least I'm sharing thoughts, but I'm not really. Cat seemed a little bit better that way. Yeah, at least I'm, what do we call it? At least I'm getting thoughts out there, but this isn't a relationship, really. It's a parasocial if anyone, starts to relate to what I'm saying and whatever else. But it's not the same thing as sitting face to face with someone. So if you're watching, if you've stuck with me this far, take a moment in your day throughout the next week to really just sit with someone and breathe and be present, Bonus points if it's someone you love. Hopefully just someone you like, and maybe extra bonus points if it's someone you don't like. And just see how that feels and sits in your body. Call to be present. Challenge. Do you accept my challenge? If you do, please tell me how it goes. And that's kind of, as I watch these social media spaces and whatever else, and I've been, raised in a really, really conservative area, never really identified that. I'm very grateful that although my parents maybe have a hard time with some of my own diversities, which is mostly out of fear. They just don't want to me to live an extra hard life. That's kind of an old school mindset, but they are boomers. I'm so grateful to them for the fact that they always raised me as best they could to not be prejudiced when I was around so many prejudiced people, right? Like always raised with the belief that everyone deserves to be treated with respect, and the fun one of anyone can be an asshole, anyone can be a great person, and then I like to add on, and most people are both. We all hold multiple different sides. And sometime I'm going to come on here and talk about how I don't think there's any point in trying to be a good person or even seeing the world through good and bad people, and just be people and know your values, because those are meaningless words that just kind of are a function of control tactics, right? And I'm not going to break that down right now. That doesn't seem like the time. But I would like to talk a little bit about control tactics, because I think when I say control tactics, it's like how I can't unsee all the marketing. I can't unsee how so much in this world links back to exchange of money rather than skills or merit or anything like that, right? Like, I look at different certifications you can get for various things. Maybe let's talk about how many fucking Uber drivers I've met who are like nuclear physicists back home, or like, you know, neuroscientists, or these high level positions that come here and have to go get all these extra unnecessary, like restart school all over again. I get it. Like, if you need to take some courses to make sure that you understand the standards and regulations in this country, and like, you need to make sure you have the communication skills, but like, come on, bruh. How many fucking native English speakers barely have communication skills? So it's just all about money fueling institutions. And then, man, this province that I live in, where my tax dollars flow to, I would give away like 70% of my income to taxes. I would be all for that. If like there was access to education and water and food and housing and all our basic needs were covered, I'd be so happy. So happy. But no, instead, I give away almost 30% of the tiny amount that I make. So that my government can turn around and give it to corporations that hold all the money, wealth, and power, and then like also spend it on legal fees to fight against the rights of people just like me, but younger, that have less protections. So like, that's a pretty big piss off. And I cannot see how like turning hate towards any one specific section of people. And like, listen, old white dudes who've become the enemy, I'm talking about you too, because the other side, what was long time considered my side, was making you the enemy. And I've seen some violence in collective spaces and people being completely unable to listen to really good points that were being made because of prejudice swinging too far the other way. So I'm talking about anything that wants to sell you this us versus them narrative. And there are a few of them. Yeah. There's the people in the fucking Epstein files. There's the people blowing up other countries. And there's the people that have been indoctrinated into supporting all that stuff. And then there's the people who aren't indoctrinated, but they just like are trying to survive, and they're getting really fed up that everything they do to try to be like a somewhat decent person gets criticized. I get it. I see how all these things are happening and flowing, and listen, how's this windswept? How's my hair doing? It's feeling like very comb-over-y. I look like my grandpa right now. It's hot, right? Do I make grandpa hot? Ooh, I did not like the way that came out of my mouth. Ew. Well, I just found out that's not a kink. Do love an older man, but that is not a kink. Do I make the grandpa look hot? No, that I can't. I can't find a good way for that to come out of my mouth. Oh, reset. Holy. I have a really special talent for trying to make something not sound bad and making it sound incredibly worse. So you are welcome for that. So when I'm talking about like systems of control and watching how they divide people, it's because the more we're divided, the more we're fighting each other. I think the less we're going like, well, where is the money flowing and what are the people in control doing? And I got like, listen, billionaires, when you have so much money that you can't even use it and you're holding on to it for power and control, and people are dying because of that. Sorry, it's like so windy. And the wind actually feels really good on my skin. And I'm getting distracted and it's hard to keep talking, but I'm here. We got this. I get to duck into a better path very, very soon. So, there's just no ethical way to do that. And I'm sure there's some people that are playing the game to be like, well, there's worse people who have power and control, so if I hold on to what I have, at least I can have some sort of influence. But I mean, the issue is the system that is working exactly as it's designed to like take power, control, and wealth and put it in the hands of the few. And less and less and less and less is kind of the ultimate outcome of that. And then, you know, it is based on the survival of the fittest idea. It's based on competition. And that really, ultimately, I think if anybody believes in evolution, like, you get far enough into it, you get far enough into anything that's got like selective breeding, and then that whole, we'll talk about breed right now, starts to like have major issues because you need diversity of a gene pool, diversity of different traits to continue to effectively evolve. And so if you have a system that is designed to really kind of give people with specific traits a leg up, that diversity starts to wear out and shit just gets dumber and dumber. And you know what? Here's another thought I've had. I think it's pretty, I don't know, egoic of people to think that we could destroy the earth. We're not going to destroy the earth. She will kill us before we can kill her, for sure. And I think a lot of what we're seeing right now with like weather, and I actually haven't been tuned into what's been going on with natural disasters, so I'm just going to stick to weather. What we've been seeing with weather and it being like so erratic right now is the earth recalibrating, and it's like, we're going to do better or we're going to make it unsustainable for us, and then it will regenerate. I'd like to do better. I'd like to keep going. This is a beautiful planet. And if you haven't been out in nature in a while, just go anywhere by water or with trees or grass. And remember that it's a beautiful planet. And I mean, you could turn on like a nature show, but just be in it, experience it. It's something else. Give yourself 5 minutes. Best you can. Botanical garden, if that's your only option. Most places have them. And there's so many cool things within like eco-design and all that stuff too. There's so many amazing like technologies and concepts and ideas out there that just haven't been invested in the way they could be. And again, that comes back to power and control and resources and people who have this addiction to, again, power and wealth. And I'm talking about the people at the very top. I'm talking about the people with the most. Not that there's people who don't also have those things with less, but balance, my friend, balance. And I think I want to come back to talking about how I've used addictions when I tried to fit myself into these systems in ways that didn't work for me. I've used addictive behavior. And I made the mistake for a few months of calling myself an addict and asking people to view me through the lens of an addict. And that really fucking sucked. That led to places I never want to go back to. Because I'm not. I was just dysregulated and using those addictions. And once I started to find regulation and balance, I couldn't find my way back. Couldn't find my way back to those people. So maybe they weren't the right people, but it still hurt a lot. It took me a long, long time to realize how much that hurt. Man, life gets wild when you're dysregulated. Yeah, so what I'm doing now, what I've done most of today, are things that take me back to regulation. Hugely. I am starting to feel the desire to put my headphones on again and keep going, and I think I've rambled enough, and I think I've closed most of the loops from the first video. Maybe, maybe not. I might, not here, but over there, I might like sit and eat my lunch. I brought lunch with me. Yeah, so maybe I'll like talk a little bit about where I'm at now. So I'm detoxing. Cutting out like added and excess sugars, and doing a lot to rebuild my gut health, like lots of meals that include apple cider vinegar and cabbage, quinoa, cut out dairy. That's, dude, acne my entire life, and 4 days, not even 4 full days off dairy, and yeah, 4 full days off dairy, and most of it's gone. And I used to like kind of turn my nose up at this stuff and be like, ew, like it's not like I'm trying to be perfect. I want to have some fun in my life. But I really needed to get off that quick dopamine ride and start to build some regulation, because I got some big stuff I want to do, and I've spent my whole life starting so many things and falling off. And I'm kind of, one of the great things is I've realized not to try to play catch up anymore, and let myself just be where I'm at. Cornerstones, the basic things everyone's told you about a million fucking times. Turns out they actually work. Very annoying. Meditation, nutrition, exercise, hydration, journaling, and then the kicker, the super secret you haven't heard about yet is letting go of perfection and embracing curiosity. Maybe you have heard of that. There's lots of talks about that, but there we go. No more looking like grandpa. It's, habit building through consistency and realizing like, oh, maybe I tried to do too much because I'm not used to that. So next day I'm going to come back and do just a little bit less. And when you didn't complete the thing that you wanted to complete, that's like the little goal that you set out for yourself. Look at what made it hard, and then just try again. Try something different. Let go of the judgment, because listen, nobody knows what they're doing. Everyone's just trying to make it work. Some people have brains that make it a little bit more challenging, so be nice to yourself. I'll say what I like to say to the people I love. Your brain's being an asshole, and let me talk to it for a second. Hey, don't talk to my friend like that. Don't do it. Don't do it. Be nice. Yeah, I'm watching you. Be nice. But no, for real, if there's anything I could, squirrel, if there's anything, if I like chose one thing to focus on, to message about, it would be letting go of the shoulds. Because the shoulds are just another function of control from a system that doesn't want you to win. It doesn't. Capitalism doesn't want you to win. It wants one person to win. How close are you to winning? And if you are close to winning, does it feel good? Because getting back to how Monopoly was designed to show off how and why capitalism sucks, the end of a game of Monopoly, usually everyone hates you because it was such a frustrating experience and you had to be an asshole to get where you got to. So if you're at the top and you somehow ended up watching my little channel, how's it feeling? How's it working for you right now? And you're like, I just can't stop. I can be the one to have the control and do things right. Man, go look into addiction. I got judgments on the programs, so I'm not gonna recommend any of them, but I'm not gonna again, nothing is perfect. We're all just people. Ooh, oh no. I thought I saw somewhere I could go, and then I realized I definitely can't because I have to walk through a river, and last time I went to that spot, I did walk through the river. Tell me you're ADHD without telling me you're ADHD, right? But I love it. I love that level of freedom and forging your own path, which, by the way, as much as I complain about the city I'm in because it was not close enough to an ocean, like a 12-hour drive from an ocean, yeah. As much as I like to complain about that, I do love that there is a spirit of innovation here. So would love if we had a government that kind of supported a more diverse and innovative and aligned with the future sort of innovation. That would be really nice. Anyways, I think that's good. I think I can wrap it up now. Okay. I love you. I love you all. Bye.